Hello, everybody. During the Yemei HaMiluim, the consecration days prior to Aaron and his sons taking over the service in the Mishkan, during the last week of Chodesh Adar, the Mishkan having been formally inaugurated on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, we are told regarding the Kohanim, Umipetach Oel Moed, Lo Teitzu Shivat Yamim Ad Yom Melot Yemei Miluechem. During the 7 days of Miluim, not as we understand it in modern military jargon, during these 7 preparatory days, they were to remain within the confines of the Ohel Moed. Upetach Ohel Moed Teshvu Yomam Valayla Shivat Yamim, for 7 days. The Gemara in Yuma on Daf Bet Amud Bet teaches us that from these 7 days of being, if you will, sequestered, the Petach Ohel Moed, the Kohen Gadol every year in the Beit HaMikdash would be sequestered in the Lishkat Parhedrin within the temple precincts in preparation for the service that he was to perform on Yom HaKippurim. In general, there were no mezuzot on the doorposts of the Beit HaMikdash. However, the Gemara in Yuma Daf Yud Amud Bet discusses whether there was a mezuzah on the Lishkat HaParhedrin. After all, the Kohen Gadol resided there for a week. Yet, on the other hand, he didn't do so of his own volition, not by his own choice, but rather because Jewish practice required him to do so, if you will. This was against his will. So the Gemara tells us there's a machloket. The Rabbanan hold that Lishkat Parhedrin is chayiv with the mezuzah because dira bal karcha shma dira. Even though he resides there against his will, it is considered a residence and therefore requires, like every residence, a mezuzah. Rav Yehuda says, as far as Torah law is concerned, it's pater because dira bal karcho lo shma dira. It is not considered a residence when it's against the person's will to be there. However, functionally, midarabanan, they did put a mezuzah on the door, shelo yomru, so that people should not say Kohen Gadol chavush beveit ha'asurim, that the Kohen Gadol's imprisoned, if you will, in the Lishkat Parhedrin. They don't see him going around. He's not in the Makolet, doesn't go to the Beit Medrash, isn't taking a spatzir with his wife. He's doing nothing. He's sequestered away, locked up. And therefore, they would affix a mezuzah to the Lishkat Parhedrin to show that it is a residence. For Rabbi Yehuda says, if it's against your will, it's not considered a residence. To debunk people of thinking that he's incarcerated there against his will, so a mezuzah was affixed. Rav Norman Lamb Zatzal raises an obvious question. People would assume he's imprisoned? It's right after Rosh Hashanah. It's the week of preparation for Yom Kippur, a day where the exalted status and the unique position of the Kohen Gadol comes to the fore in all of his splendor, with all of the solemnity. How could anybody possibly think that he is imprisoned and therefore we have to put a mezuzah on the door? I would add to that the question, and if people think that, so what? If it's a halachic requirement that he be in the Lishkat Parhedrin for a week before Yom Kippur, so be it. Why does it bother us if there are people who assume that he's imprisoned and not there in halachic preparation? And I think the answer is obvious. There are people whose whole gisha to mitzvot, which after all we perform bal korchenu, they are commandments. We didn't ask for them. They were imposed upon us as part of our covenant with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And so people can look at mitzvot and go, Shver Zayin Yid, it's really tough being a Jew. Who would want to do that? The obligations of Jewish education, the costs involved, the cost of kosher food, all the do's and don'ts, the restrictions, a sense that there is nothing in life that is not mandated by halacha one way or the other. People can come and look at this as if we're imprisoned by the halacha. And so Rav Yehuda says, Bedavka, we put a mezuzah on the doorpost of Lishkat Parhedrin to say loud and clear, that's not how we look at mitzvot. Yes, they are bal korchenu. We have to do the mitzvot. And perhaps that's inherent in the medrash of Matan Torah b'Sinai, kafa aleihem har kegigit. God, so to speak, held the mountain above the heads of the Jews and gave them a choice, an offer they couldn't refuse, if you will, to either accept Torah or that would be the end of them. So they didn't have a choice. You could also understand, of course, that they didn't have a choice, not because God literally forced them, but the overpowering sense that they had that they were in the presence of the Shekhinah left them without a choice to refuse his offer. And so we put a mezuzah on the Lishkat Parhedrin to say, but it's not resented. We willingly and lovingly proclaim ourselves as Avdei Hashem, mandated to do his will, to render him glory and recognition. That's the tachlis of our lives as human beings, bichlal, and as the Jewish people, bifrat. So we don't want people thinking that the Kohen Gadol was imprisoned. We want to proclaim he's lovingly doing his preparatory work for the Yom HaGadol v'Hanorah of Yom HaKippurim. And so hopefully is our attitude as we go about our daily performance of mitzvot aseh v'lo ta'aseh bein adam lamakom uvein adam lechavero. Shabbat shalom.